So, India just did something huge in a move that sent absolute shockwaves through one of its fastest growing digital sectors. The country basically just unplugged its entire online money gaming industry. Let's dive into what this monumental decision really means for millions of people and, of course, billions in investment. In this quote, it really says it all. Overnight, a future facing industry now stares at a bleak horizon. This wasn't some slow, phased out regulation. Nope, this was like flipping a switch off, a sudden, dramatic shutdown of a booming ecosystem. The key word here is absolutely overnight. And that's really the heart of the debate here, isn't it? Is this a necessary move by the government to protect its citizens from things like addiction and debt? Or is this just a classic case of legislative overreach, basically killing a billion-dollar industry right as it was about to take off? That's the huge question we're going to unpack. I mean, to really get why this was such a shock, you got to look at just how fast this all went down. It's kind of mind-blowing. The speed here is just wild. On day one, the bill clears the lower house of parliament. The very next day, day two, it's cleared by the upper house. And that's pretty much it. For an industry of this size, a 2-day turnaround is practically unheard of. It left absolutely no time for companies to lobby or even for a real public debate. And listen, this wasn't some light tap on the wrist. The bill covers the whole shebang. It bans the games themselves, sure, but it also bans the ads you see everywhere, during cricket matches. And it even bans the financial transactions that make it all work. And it's got serious teeth. We're talking hefty fines and even the possibility of jail time. So make no mistake, this is a total shutdown. So you might be asking, why the massive rush? Why so decisive? Well, to understand that, we need to look at it from the government's perspective and the very real social pressures that have been building up for years. You have to understand, for a lot of people, this was never about economics. It was about protecting families. This quote from parents' associations and social groups kind of frames the whole ban as a moral imperative, a step they felt was absolutely necessary to protect the country's youth. And look, the problems that pushed lawmakers to act, they were very, very real. We're talking about widespread addiction among young people, families spiraling into debt, and minors finding it super easy to get around any age restrictions. India's amazing instant payment system, UPI, actually made it almost too easy. And on top of all that, mental health professionals were flagging a serious spike in anxiety and depression linked to online gambling. These weren't just abstract fears. These were real kitchen table crises happening all over the country. And of course, you can't ignore the politics of it all. With national elections always on the horizon, taking a firm stand like this lets the ruling party position itself as a defender of traditional family values, showing they're listening to the concerns of parents and communities. It's a really powerful message to send. Okay, so you have the moral argument on one side, but on the other, a massive economic fallout. This decision to just ban instead of trying to regulate comes with a huge, huge price tag. Just wrap your head around this number, 16,000 crore rupees. That's over $2 billion US. This wasn't some small niche market. This was a juggernaut that was projected to grow like 20 to 25% every single year. Well, that forecast is gone. And the damage, it's not just contained to the gaming companies themselves. It's like a ripple effect. It's the thousands of jobs that just vanished, the venture capital deals that were scrapped overnight, the ad money that TV channels and sports leagues were depending on. And now there's just this cloud of uncertainty hanging over India's entire startup scene. And this right here is the industry's biggest pushback. The government's goal was totally clear: stop unsafe betting. But the massive, unintended risk is that they might have just pushed millions of users away from regulated Indian apps straight into the arms of illegal offshore apps where there's literally zero protection. And you can literally see the panic setting in when you look at how these startups are scrambling to survive. For many, like MPL, step one was immediate layoffs. Then comes the pivot, right? Desperately trying to rebrand as an esports or skill gaming company. Some, like Dream 11, are even trying to become financial tech companies. And for many others, well, the only option left is to just shut their doors for good. So let's zoom out for a second. How does this huge move by India stack up against what the rest of the world is doing? Let's take a quick look. If you look around the world, the trend is pretty clear. Most countries are trying to regulate this stuff, not ban it outright. Singapore, for example, licenses and regulates the industry pretty heavily. In the US, it's being legalized on a state-by-state basis. But then you have China, where a near-total ban has just led to a massive, thriving black market. Critics are now worried that by choosing prohibition, India might be heading right down that very same path.
All right, so after all that, where does this leave everyone? The industry, the millions of users? What's the next chapter actually look like in this new reality?
Now, it's really important to get this straight. Not everything got banned. Esports, games that are based purely on skill, and educational platforms, they're all still legal. And that's where the smart companies are now focusing their energy. But the risk is still immense. You could see a gray market of foreign apps just flood in, targeting Indian players who will have absolutely no legal protection if they get cheated. And that leaves us with the big multi-billion-dollar question, doesn't it? In its effort to solve a very real social problem, has the Indian government actually found a workable solution? Or has it simply traded a visible, taxable, and regulated industry for one that's invisible, untaxable, and completely underground? Well, the next chapter for Indian gaming is still to be written.